but there's no time for reasons. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to another podcast. Welcome to the Football Chatbox pre-season podcast. This is episode number 36, and I've got Karan with me
guys.
back again. We've loved his stats, so we've got him back
How you
again.
doing?
We're going to be talking big. It's a big episode. Midfielders and forwards today.
It's a chunky one.
Yeah, it is a chunky one. So if you are new, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well, and get involved in the live comments if you are here. Having said all of that, oh yeah, mini league code is also there. Make sure to join the mini league, Football Chatbox mini league, and let's get started. Starting up first, all the stats that we use here, or most of the stats we use here, are part of the Fantasy Football Scout members area. So use the link in the bottom. That's right there, because we are affiliated with them, and sign up if you want to sign up and get some of the stats. You can do through the Fantasy Football Scout members area. Helps the channel as well because we are an affiliate. So yeah, if you're interested, you can sign up. There is also the standard membership, which is free, which you get access to a few articles, but most of the stats and everything is behind the members area.
There's literally hundreds of stats.
Yes, there's a lot of stats. If you're a stats person, that's the place to be. But yeah, having said that, let's get started. Okay, so fixture schedule. I think we'll occasionally come back to this. We spoke about this before as well on the defenders and goalkeepers podcast. We might come back to this as well whenever, in terms of trying to discuss about teams. But yeah, this fixture schedule is from Lynn, FPL on Twitter. Again, Brighton, Wolves right on top. But the teams we're going to be talking about, I think for this podcast mainly, is probably around the top 6 mainly, because that's where people are targeting.
Yeah.
And also some of the other teams. There are a couple other teams with really good fixtures as well. Like Wolves. People speaking about Pedro Neto will probably
It's an interesting one because you can probably draft a really good team just using top 6 players.
Yep.
And maybe 1 or 2, like non-top 6 enablers.
Yeah.
Because if you look here, like Tottenham City, Liverpool, Arsenal, all have amazing fixtures all the way to like game week 6 or 8, which is not, typically when you're going to use your first wildcard. So yeah. Yeah.
And also like the likes like Aston Villa, who have a couple cheap enablers like Leon Bailey at 5 million. So there will be a couple players like that we'll be speaking about who will help us in terms of enabling like the 2 premiums, 3 premiums even. We'll discuss all about that upcoming. Now, this is from Holishan on Twitter. I thought of adding this here because it kind of gives you an idea on where the international break is for one, and also the World Cup, and also the cup fixtures, and like what we kind of would expect. Now, if you look at this game week 1, 2, 3, 4, until game week 4, most of the top 6 don't have dual fixtures or like midweek fixtures. Game week 5 would be the first midweek fixture for the top teams, but some of the other teams will have cup games. But after game week 5 is when the European games begin. So then you've got the likes of your top 6, where that's where I think the 5 subs rule we'll see the most effect in terms of rotation, because the top teams will start to rotate, and that's where most of our assets are. So that's where I'm
Yeah.
kind of expecting it. But I think
I think, yeah, definitely you'll see that being used. But I think even before that, like the 5 subs rule, I think will get used to play everyone into fitness, especially
yes, that
like
could also work.
especially like the bigger teams that have quite a bit of depth now. Like Spurs have like 3 to 4 quality wingback options. You know, like they even have 3 or 4 quality forward options.
Yep.
So I think they're all going to get a bit of minutes. You know, so this season finding just maximizing players that are going to get the most number of minutes is going to, you know, make a lot of points, I think.
Yep, that's true. And also, after game week 6, when the European fixtures start, there are teams like Leicester that will just be single game weeks going forward because they're not in Europe. And we've seen before, we saw last season, as soon as Leicester got knocked out of the European competitions, their XG numbers and everything started to improve quite a bit. So we saw the likes of Madison, Jamie Vardy,
Yeah.
all of them improving. This
Madison
season,
was
yeah,
really good last season, wasn't he? It's a tough one because Leicester had so many injuries last season. They were such a makeshift team.
yeah,
So I really don't know what to expect of them. There's quite a few decent options that could pop up. Madison, Barnes, Vardy, yeah, they're all worth considering.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think those are the kind of options we'll be looking into in terms of as well as in terms of a wild card. Wild card, I think, because of how short let's say first sprint is before the World Cup, where we'll get unlimited transfers again.
Mhm.
I'm thinking a wild card could be even early as game week 4 maybe, or even just game week 8, or just after game week 8 when during the international break. That's where you could see managers playing a wild card as well, or even game week 6, because there's a couple of fixture swings in terms of the promoted teams. Their fixtures tend to ease up a bit more. So you've got a couple assets from there. Arsenal's fixtures tend to get a bit more harder. So you could probably start looking at dropping Arsenal assets. So,
Yeah.
but that all of that is probably for a bit more when we get into the season. But just keep that in mind right now.
I honestly think we'll see wildcards earlier, like
Game week 2,
three or
game week 1.
four,
No,
three or
sorry, game week
four,
2,
and
3 or
I,
4. Yeah.
yeah, I don't even think it's that bad because there's so many players you can't have them all. So if you have the wrong ones, you might have to end up wildcarding. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's also a couple comments with regards to could you rate my team? Maybe at the end of the stream, we'll have a look
Yeah,
at
if
a
you got
couple
time,
streams.
let's do a couple. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to touch too much more from like after the international break because we'll have a lot more information then. But yeah, keep that in mind right now. Let's get into the meat of the things. Midfielders. So what I've done here is I've split the midfielders into the 3 categories: premium, mid-priced, and budget. And I've added the price ranges as well. For premium, we're looking at 9.5 to 30 million. Salah, Son, Sterling, Bruno, and De Bruyne are the 5 players in that list. This is from last season's stats. Out of these 5, probably 3 are being spoken about quite now. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, Salah, Son, and De Bruyne.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I mean, I think Bruno is straight up not an option unless Ronaldo leaves, and it looks like he's not going to leave as of a few
As
hours
of,
ago.
yeah.
And De Bruyne is an interesting one. I think, yeah, I think he's definitely not going to be on pens.
No.
This data is not per 90, and De
No.
Bruyne missed a lot of games last
Yeah.
season. So maybe you could get more assists with Haaland, but
Could be. Like,
yeah,
Pep has come out and said that he's looking much more sharper, much more better. And there are managers like with the recent quotes of like Haaland not being like available to play all the games, or like City have kind of told Haaland like, oh, we bought you in here, we will let you rest, you don't have to play all the games as well. It could swing people to go maybe in their teams instead of going Haaland and
yeah.
Salah, you could probably go, I don't know, Kane and Salah, or if people go in premiums of Son and Haaland, they could go Kane and KDB.
See, De Bruyne will play probably, I
Mhm.
shouldn't say will, but
Yeah.
will probably play the most minutes, right?
Mm.
And that already makes him a really good option, even if his threat numbers aren't as good as like a Mahrez or. But yeah, Other than that, yeah, Salah, Son, nothing much to say about them.
Yep.
Sterling is a wait and see. I
Yeah.
think the 10 mil price it's very binary for me. If
Yep.
Chelsea end up being a good team, 10 mil is going to look cheap. If Chelsea don't click, then 10 mil is going to be just too expensive.
Yeah.
So
Fair enough. Right now, Chelsea aren't clicking, but we'll see how they
we'll see.
do.
It's just
Yeah,
preseason.
it's
It's
still
only
preseason.
preseason. Yeah.
But Sterling at that price, if he does become talismanic figure, then he
Mhm.
could be a pretty decent bargain. Um,
How do you rate Sterling? Like, do you think he's got the quality to be like a talisman type of player?
from his time at City, probably
Yeah.
not. He's a very frustrating player at times.
Yeah.
On his day, he's good, but he can also, in terms of finishing, I don't know. I don't think he's that amazing.
Yeah.
I would still probably choose Mason Mount from the Chelsea team over Sterling at the moment. But again, we'll have to see. Because City is a more structured approach. I'm not sure how Tuchel will
Yeah.
manage his Chelsea team, and also what system Chelsea end up playing, because they seem to be switching between these back four, wing back in terms of a back three with two wing backs. So we're not really sure how they'll actually turn up in the season. Based on that, I think it might change things, because Sterling can play in a two striker up front as well. If Chelsea go that way, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think his best position is still some sort of wide
Mm.
forward, you know. Like,
Mm.
but the thing with Sterling is he's not like somebody who's gonna get involved in the build up and take the game, you know, by the neck or whatever.
No.
But I do think he's excellent at getting in the right positions.
Yes.
So he needs chances created for him,
Yeah.
and I'm just not sure if Chelsea
Have
can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I generally just don't think they can do that yet.
Yeah. Because we've seen in England, when he
Yeah,
has chances created for him, he's right there in the correct,
yeah.
in the correct spot if needed. But
I, See,
getting
there's this thing that there's a perception that Sterling is a terrible finisher because he has a few high-profile misses.
yes,
But if you look at his XG versus, G per
yeah,
90, it's
it's not too bad.
he's just an okay finisher.
Yeah,
Like he's not a terrible finisher. So we'll
fair
see.
enough. We'll have to see how he does.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, Salah's son, I think there is no debate. They're doing well in preseason as well, Son especially. And a lot of
yeah,
people, for me, I think I'm still on the premium draft of, I
yeah.
just want that
Sticking
Spurs.
with the third.
I know. I just want that Spurs player, because I'm thinking a lot of people
Yeah.
are going to ignore these Spurs assets, and they are doing so well in preseason as well.
But which premium though? Because like it's could be, I can see somebody going Son plus Kane and
Yeah.
then just getting rewarded for it because they
I
play
know
like
you could,
Southampton. Yeah, so it's
because there are managers who will go Son, Kane, and Salah, and then try and do Kane to Haaland in game week 2.
that's yeah.
Yeah, and they could probably get rewarded. Like Kane could probably be the correct one instead of Son. I don't know. For me, I think both of them are really good options.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that in detail
Yeah,
later on.
and like I'm not put off the idea of like doing that as well. Like going Kane, Son, Salah to start off with, and then going Haaland in game week 2 and captaining Haaland. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. It all depends on, I think, Community Shield this weekend to see what City's formation will be like and how many minutes Haaland gets and all of that.
Do you think the Community Shield is not like other preseason games? It's like
Oh,
there's
well,
something to play for.
there's something to play for, and also it gives us more information
Yeah,
in terms of what could be an ideal game week 1, game week 2 starting lineups for these teams. That's something that's still kind of in there. Like City haven't had too many preseason games as well.
yeah,
We don't have enough information. Also, the fact that Foden didn't go on preseason.
yep,
So will he start immediately? If not, does Jack Grealish start? Because I think we'll speak about Grealish as well, because I think he's a really good option for his price tag. So
yep.
I think it's just more information in terms of City. In terms of Liverpool, it's probably between does Nunes or Firmino who starts there. And also in terms of we would just want to see the system, because both of these teams are playing with a number 9 in their team after quite a long time, I would say, or like a
Yeah,
proper
yeah.
number 9 in their team. So just want to see how they adapt to their new systems as well.
Yeah. It's interesting that Liverpool felt the need to go and get a like a classical number 9,
yeah,
right?
as well.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting.
we'll see how they do.
Mhm.
So anything else to add on premium midfielders?
Maybe when we bring up the XG90
Yeah.
graph, we can
Yeah,
break it down a
okay.
little bit more.
Cool. mid-price midfielders. Now, this is 7 to 9 million, but we see a lot of 8 million bracket players in here, and that's the kind of price range that a lot of people are looking at in terms of value.
This is
for
the most congested
yeah,
option in all of
yeah,
FPL this year.
yeah.
Like there are so many valid options, both in terms of fixtures and yeah,
It's
there's
just
so many
plenty.
ways you could
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
There's so many ways you could
yeah.
go.
Right on the top, you got Saka, and I think Saka itself is like a really good option, done well in preseason. We've got the likes of Luis Diaz, Sancho at 7.5 million,
Yep.
Grealish, like I mentioned, who I think this season could probably do a bit more better with the fact that they City now have a number 9, because
Yeah.
when he was in Villa, he had the likes of Watkins or like a number 9 over there who he could like feed assist to. Here at
He had
City, he probably
Watkins missing every
yeah,
chance. That's
but
what
now
he
you
had.
have a
Yeah.
Haaland who
Yeah.
basically converts most of his chances. So
Yeah.
you've got Madison with Leicester having decent fixtures, maybe not the best of fixtures to start with. Mahrez as well. Is he still on penalties?
Yeah.
I mean, he's come out and said, I don't know about this penalties going to Haaland yet. For me, I'm still on penalties, but
I believe that quote was that, yeah, that I'm still on penalties
yeah, exactly.
until otherwise,
Yeah.
right? So yeah. But
So
at the same time, look, like Foden, right?
yeah,
I don't know how highly you rate Foden,
I rate him a
but for
lot.
me, yeah,
Yeah.
for me, he's like a generational talent
Yeah.
in England,
Yeah.
right? So and Pep has like very slowly and patiently played him, blooded him into the team.
Yeah.
And like this is for me, this is the season where Foden starts to,
Mm.
get like more minutes than Mahrez, I guess.
About 2,500 minutes, I would expect Foden to probably get.
He got 2100 last
Yeah,
season,
so probably
1800 the
more.
season
Yeah.
before. Yeah,
Um,
so
for me, he's like one of their key players, and it's him, De Bruyne. Those two are like their mainstays, I would say, or at least like in the City attack for me, at least.
and if you look at non-penalty
Yeah.
threat, like Foden blows Mahrez out of the water.
Yes.
Right.
Foden XG non-penalty at 10.02. Mahrez on the other hand 7.15. Mahrez is a very his results are very dependent on one penalties. If it gets taken away from him, he becomes a bit more of a worse type
Yep.
of player for me, at least. He's a really good player, but like very
As an
frustrating.
FPL option.
Yeah, as an
right?
FPL
Yeah.
option, he's been very frustrating recently.
Zaha has been tearing it up in preseason, by the way.
Yes, I did say that. I
Yeah.
was thinking about it, but I think Crystal Palace's let's like come back to the season ticket. Crystal Palace's start is like Arsenal, Liverpool,
It's terrible.
City. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a wait and watch. But Zaha has been tearing up in preseason. That I will accept. That could also be the fact, like, I mean, when we're looking at Arsenal assets to start
Yeah.
off with, maybe game week 1 you can probably wait while they play Crystal Palace. Game week 2 they have Leicester. Isn't a rush maybe to get an Arsenal asset? I don't know. That's something to consider as well. But yeah, thoughts mid-price.
Yeah, there's so many options, so many valid options. I don't think there's any right answers at all. I think Kulusevski is a bit of an underrated option. I mean, it's
Yeah.
weird how he's gone from very highly rated to
That's
underrated because his price went up by 2 mil, right?
would the introduction of Richarlison also probably play a part in that?
I can't see that. I think like he was so good last season.
Hmm.
I think he was almost every bit as good
Yeah.
as the other two
Yeah.
towards the end of last season.
Yeah.
For me, he's like very strongly the
One of the
number
best,
one
yeah.
choice on the right side, and then Richarlison is probably gonna take minutes off all three, but more the wings.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean Kulusevski, yeah, I think he's a really
Could be a
good
good
player.
option.
Yeah,
fair
yeah,
enough.
I think so.
Fair enough. Sancho is another player that has been doing really well in preseason. Rashford is kind of cheaper. You got Martial on the other hand as well. I think we'll speak about it a bit more later when we get to
Yeah.
that area. But he is also, I think, another player who could do well and is probably a bit, at least for me, I think he's a bit more guaranteed of starts.
I'm just happy Man United players are interesting for
Finally,
FPL.
right? I know.
It's been 2 seasons where they've never been an option.
Yeah.
And
So we'll see. I think Sancho could be a really good option for his price as well. I think all the United assets could be really good options for their price.
yeah, they were talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, mid-price. Anything to add? Rafinha shouldn't be on this list. I forgot to remember. But yeah.
Shall we move to the graph? I think it'll be
Yes,
easier to
yes,
see
yes.
some.
I've got budget prices here, but we won't touch too much of them because I think a lot of them do change later on. But yeah, let's go to the graph because that
Yeah,
actually
let's go to
tells
the
it.
graph and then let's talk about
Yeah.
these from the graph.
So this
So
is from
Mhm.
FPL Fraser. Go ahead. I'll let you lead this one if you want to.
no, I was just gonna let you explain it, but yeah, it's essentially on the bottom axis is threat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So non-penalty goals and assists, goal involvement,
Mm-hmm.
and on the left is how many minutes they've played per appearance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So basically, you everyone on the top right of the graph, you want him,
Is good.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's essentially all there is to
Top
it.
right, good. Bottom left, avoid at all
That
cost.
that's it.
Yeah.
You can sort of see there's a clump of 8 mil midfielders. I mean,
Yes.
I'll probably let you, since you've got the mouse, like below
So
Saka, Mount, Madison,
yeah,
Grealish, see that little,
you. So I don't think people will be able to see the mouse, but you've got
oh,
like a whole bunch on just on the center between 0.4 and 0.5 on the top.
yeah, mhm,
You've got like a bunch of 8 million midfielders like Saka over there, Mason Mount over there, Foden over there, Rafinha. Not Rafinha is no longer there, but Madison. Got Grealish at 7 million. All of them like all put together. So kind of like explains why there's so much options in that 8 million bracket as well.
it kind of shows you that from looking at
Yeah.
this without really doing any math,
Yeah.
just like the average non-penalty
XG. Yeah.
expected goal involvement you can get from the 8 mils is around like 0.45 and
Yeah.
0.5, right?
Yeah.
So anyone that stands out is we
So
can talk about,
yeah,
right? So
you're
you got your
ideally
Bowen,
getting from the 8
yeah,
millions, you're ideally getting maybe a return every 2 games basically.
yep.
Yeah.
But you look at your Luis Diaz,
Who is a bit more higher than that. Yeah.
bit more higher than that, even Foden,
Mm-hmm.
even Barnes.
Mm.
Barnes is the highest 7 to 8 mil midfielder,
Yes.
right?
Yes. But minutes are an issue.
Minutes are an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I would have thought Barnes is one of their best players, but I think every time Rodgers uses a two striker system, Barnes gets dropped.
Yeah. I would also add
So-
the fact that he had Barnes had injury issues as well
oh
last
yeah,
season.
that's right. Yeah.
Which could explain why his minutes are slightly lower in general, and also the fact that because of Leicester's European fixtures, there was a lot of rotation for Leicester as well.
Yeah.
So this season, maybe he could be another like a really good option.
Yeah,
Going
I
forward.
mean Barnes with more minutes. I
Yeah.
mean the graph explains itself.
Yeah.
And Luis Diaz,
Mhm.
this is a really interesting one because with Mane gone, is he just a lock for that spot? Like you watch him play and you just think this guy is, he's just like born for this Liverpool system.
Yeah.
Like straight away he's like pressing as hard as all of them.
Yeah.
He's a very direct player. Like, I don't feel like if he keeps it up, they're not gonna miss Mane one bit, right? So now the question is, does Jota take some minutes off him? Does Jota take some minutes off Nunez?
Yeah.
So it's
Firmino is also there.
Firmino's there, but
But
yeah,
Firmino is probably taking minutes of Nunes more
of
than yeah.
Nunez. Yeah.
The other thing is when you're picking Luis Diaz,
Mhm.
it's basically that third Liverpool slot, right? Then that comes into question of is maybe Robertson at $1 million cheaper
Yeah.
better than a Luis Diaz in terms
Yeah.
of returns.
Yeah. So,
That's also something to consider, I guess.
but you
'Cause-
can see, like I mean, this is not a huge sample
no, it's not a
size
huge
because
yeah.
Diaz only played,
Half a
10
season,
or
yeah.
10 or 11 games,
Yeah,
I think.
it's
Yeah.
very
So,
less. Yep.
yeah.
But
So
it's a good like comparison of where he is compared to the rest of the pack.
Ashik just raised an interesting
Yeah.
point, and it's one that I wanted to bring up when we were talking about Arsenal before. He mentioned that Martinelli's ahead of Saka.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I did look at Martinelli's stats, and he has like incredible XG stats, not of a huge sample size. When Martinelli plays, just like off the eye test, it sort of seems like he's sort of like a get in behind
Yes.
kind of
Forward
striker
line, yeah,
slash
yeah.
forward kind of thing. Like he's not messing around in the build up. He's like the at the pointy end. So
I think-
Martinelli could be really good value.
Yeah.
Could be better value than Saka. It's just about
Could
minutes.
be the only exactly like you mentioned. It's the minutes that's the issue because you've got the likes of Smith Rowe on there. You've got Nketiah as well. Now that Gabriel Jesus is at Arsenal.
Smith Rowe's rumored to have an injury.
Yes, for the
Yeah.
moment. Yeah, that's what. So, but when he's back, I guess Martinelli right now is probably a short term that we're thinking about. Most of the players were thinking maybe short term, not too much.
But Nketiah's tearing it up in
Yes,
preseason.
that's the one thing. Nketiah is the player that I'm kind of worried about because he could replace Martinelli. Now that's something you don't really want because you don't want to pick a player in game week 1. I think Martinelli maybe starts in game week 1.
Yeah.
But then if he makes a mistake, game week 2 you've got Nketiah right behind you. That's something you kind of don't want for your squad. But I agree, Martinelli. I think at 6 million, it's worth the punt for me at least.
So, but is Nketiah is a? I
He's a
mean,
forward.
I don't watch Arsenal that much. Nketiah is primarily a striker, right?
Yes, but he can play on I would assume he can play on that wing as well. Now this is where I think Roy probably gives us a bit more of a.
Roy or Ashik, these are Arsenal fans.
Is
If you
Ashik
have
also an
any,
Arsenal fan?
yeah.
Okay, so then he could also like give us a bit more.
If you have
'Cause-
any insight, please.
Yeah. For me, I think Gabriel Jesus plays that number 9 role.
He's a lock,
Nketiah
yeah.
could play that number 9 role as well, but I would say Nketiah would also be competing with Martinelli maybe for that left wing spot because Martinelli can also play that striker role if needed to be. But yeah, I don't know. I think at 6 million is a pretty good punt compared to Saka. But
I think it's really good value.
yeah. But we know what we're getting from Saka, like guaranteed minutes. It's the most safer pick. It depends on your risk appetite, I would say.
Who takes pens?
That's a good question. We haven't seen anything of that in preseason yet.
Like, isn't
It used to be Saka, but I don't know if Gabriel has.
is it Odegaard? Oh no, it's Martinelli.
No.
I actually think it's Martinelli.
Really?
I think
So
Martinelli
last
is actually the pen taker because I remember Martinelli took
season,
it. Yeah.
it was Saka who was taking it. This preseason, I can't see any pens have been given to Arsenal. No, nothing.
We'll look it up.
Yeah.
But I just remembered something I saw on Twitter where if some
I've
Arsenal
got
fan was saying that
the-
if Martinelli plays, he's the number one
He's
taker.
the set piece taker. I have an article from Fantasy Football Scout that
Okay.
has the set piece takers, the list of them. Let me just find that.
Yeah.
But do you want to just go on like
Yeah.
the other players while I'm searching for that?
Sure. So when I look at this graph, Bowen is he criminally underrated or is he rightly overlooked? Like this is
I think his price is the issue. 8.5 million is quite a bit. Like you at the moment you can probably save that 0.5.
yeah. But
I-
Bowen's pretty much a striker, like Bowen is
Yeah.
playing out of position for West Ham. However, they did just sign a new striker.
Yeah, Skamaka, who's supposed to be pretty good.
Scamacca.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a 6'5", like
Yes. the
massive
Italian
target man. Yeah.
Zlatan or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's true. He could be. I don't know, but I think Bowen will play on the wing. Maybe we'll have to see. But
Well, I think Scamacca just takes, and I mean,
Takes
you
the striker
saw
spot.
how Antonio was hot for like 10
Mm,
games last
yes,
season and
yes.
then just was tired for the rest of the
Yeah,
season.
yeah.
So Scamacca is obviously there to, replace Antonio eventually.
yes.
I mean, I can't see him replacing Bowen or anything. So
So just found out the penalties thing for Arsenal. You got Saka, Martinelli, and Pepe on the potential list of penalty takers. So it's between Saka and Martinelli. And Dexter says Saka is first choice pen taker. Yeah, so we'll have to see. I think we'll see. We'll see
Okay,
like in a game if anything appears.
Saka is a first choice. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. That's the one thing I'm not sure about yet. We don't know whether Jesus will come and like take pens off Saka. We don't know yet. We'll have to see. Yeah. With regards to Bowen, is West
Mhm.
Ham's fixtures? I don't think West Ham's fixtures are that great opening, right?
Let's go.
No, they're not. City to start off with. Yeah, City to start off with, and then they have Spurs and Chelsea in the first 6.
Yeah, so I think they're probably someone to consider after that game week
Yeah.
wildcard, game week 7 or 8
Yeah,
wildcard.
yeah. Anything else to add on this midfielders list?
Just,
Rashford is not here. Had a
does
bad
anyone
season
does
last.
he had a terrible season?
Yeah.
Does anyone look like a like a trap or
A trap.
any of the 7
Maybe
or
at the
8
start
Euros?
we'll probably think about like Sterling as a distinct issue, but in terms of a trap, I don't think there's anyone who can be a trap here. If you're looking at the
Yeah.
top right, I think everyone's pretty good. Someone I should probably mention, right?
Uh-huh.
He's on this list. Christian
Eriksen.
Eriksen.
Yeah.
Yes. 5.5 million, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it 5.5? I thought it was 6.5.
Let me find out.
Yeah, I think Just you got to see how they play.
6.5, yeah.
6.5. Yeah, you got to see how they play. Like the in preseason, he has been playing a single defensive mid, which
Yeah.
is Fred, with two
2
number
eights.
8s.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, and the 8s could be Bruno and Ericsson.
Yes, that's what I'm
I
wondering.
think that's very attacking for the Premier League. But
It could be.
it-
It could be.
yeah, but if you have a disciplined system, it could work. you
Yeah.
know, So
See, that's what I'm kind of, because Ericsson could make a mockery for his price tag. Because I would say
Yeah.
he'd be on set pieces if he plays. Probably the best dead ball
Clearly.
specialist we'll have.
clearly
Yeah.
better than Bruno and Shaw.
Yeah, so
And they're pretty good.
yeah,
you know.
exactly. So I would say Ericsson would be probably the best dead ball specialist we'll have at the club. Can finally take a corner.
Yeah, but I don't think you can start the season with Ericsson.
No, probably not. No. But something
definitely
to
not.
monitor, I would say.
Something to monitor
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's
And
basically.
then Foden, we already spoke about
Yeah,
Foden.
Foden I
but,
think is pretty good. Yeah.
My underlying belief is that Pep, is going to eventually make Foden one of his stars.
Yeah, I would
right?
agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, because he just brings so much. So yeah, I don't know. Is it this season? Is it next season? That's the only question.
We would see a lot of minutes from Foden, but maybe not at game week 1, game week 2 itself, because he hasn't gone on preseason with the rest
That's
of the
true.
team.
Yeah,
So Grealish at 7 million
yeah,
could be a really good option till then.
yeah. And you can see he's got similar enough stats to a
Yeah,
lot of the other 8
yeah.
mil.
And
8 mil
and
guys.
Grealish is another player I like a lot, who has like a lot of talent and capable of like giving Haaland the ball and basically he'll put it in front of him and Haaland just has to finish.
Did you
So-
see that goal in preseason?
Yes, exactly.
Against
That's what I'm
Bayern?
talking about.
Yeah, what a touch, right?
Yeah.
That was such a silky touch.
So
yeah.
Grealish
really
could
good player.
be, for 7 million, out of all the City attackers, I think he's probably the one player that I wish I had that 0.5 million to be able to go and get.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
but
got
yeah.
a few drops with Grealish.
Yeah.
but yeah.
So we'll see how he does.
Right.
Again, Community Shield will tell us a bit more, I guess.
Cool. Let's move on.
All right, forward lines. Let's get into it. Premium forwards: Kane, Jota, Ronaldo, Vardy, Haaland. Stats here I've got from FPRF, but we've got some from StatsBomb as well that later that we'll show about.
Yep.
I couldn't find Darwin Nunes because Liganos.
Yeah,
isn't,
it's
like,
tough to get
covered.
their stats.
Yeah, so it's not
Yeah.
easy. It's not easy to get those stats there. But
Um,
yeah, Nunes really good finishing, bad passing. Although you could say, like we mentioned before the stream started, you mentioned that finishing could be maybe he overachieved.
yeah, I was saying how last season he scored quite a lot of goals off
Yeah.
not that much XG.
Yeah.
Just to keep it simple. So does that mean he's a really good finisher? Does that mean he's a lucky finisher? You need more sample size to say.
Yeah.
But I mean, out of this list, like Jota is a strong avoid.
If
right?
not,
Like
yeah, because he's injured at the moment.
Oh yeah, of
Yeah.
course. But he might become an option at some point. But
Yeah.
Jota as a forward is so much worse as an FPL option.
Yes,
I-
compared to
As a
midfielder.
midfielder, I thought he was an amazing FPL
Yeah.
option.
Yeah, as a forward, I'm not that interested.
Ronaldo, okay, so Ronaldo now looks like he's staying.
At the
So I've
moment, at
been
the
on-
time of recording.
Well, 2 hours ago,
Yeah.
like I saw on Twitter, Sir Alex was rolling into
Carrington.
know,
yes, I saw that yesterday.
into Carrington.
Yeah.
I don't know what trying to
The-
get him to stay or something. I don't know.
They bought everyone. Everyone's at a Carrington these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the moment, Ronaldo seems like he's staying. But I don't think Ronaldo starts game week 1 because I don't think Ten Hag will
No.
like rush him in immediately. But we'll speak about what that affects
Yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of Martial and the rest of the United attacking lineups that we're looking at.
So Kane versus Haaland, we've also got a slide later.
Yes, we do.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Vardy, okay. I am a big Jamie Vardy fan. Okay, so
I think he's good. Yeah, I wouldn't.
So
disagree.
I know that the fixtures aren't amazing.
Yeah.
But like I just think okay. So Leicester do well in
Yeah.
these sort of counter-attacking games.
They do.
Okay.
Yes.
And I've been like, walking around trying to tell this theory to everyone else that'll listen.
Yeah.
But I've also seen quite a few like the guy who came number 1 in FPL last year.
Yeah.
That American guy.
Yeah, Jamie Pickett. Yeah.
Jamie, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He I don't know if you saw his draft on Twitter, but
It
he's
has
got
Vardy,
a,
I think. Yes.
Yeah,
I
he's
saw
got a-
him
he's-
on a
yeah.
podcast before. Yeah,
Yeah,
FPL Rank,
yeah.
under the radar. Yeah.
So he's got a Vardy Kane double up at the start of the season.
Yeah.
And I felt validated, So
Fair enough.
but,
I mean,
Uh,
the fixtures aren't too bad. Just like Brentford. I think
Brentford,
are
okay,
good.
so Brentford missing 1 to 2 first choice
Yeah,
centre
and not
backs.
doing well in
Yeah.
preseason as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Arsenal could be a tough game.
Arsenal, of course, it's going
Yeah.
to be a tough game, but like, do I think they're going to get chances on the counter for
Oh,
sure? And like,
definitely, yeah.
and Vardy is the most clinical in the league on the
Yeah,
counter, right? So,
like I watched the Arsenal Chelsea game. Chelsea had chances
yeah.
on the counter. I mean,
Okay.
Leicester could also have the same amount of chances on the counter.
Southampton,
Southampton,
they play with a suicidally high line most of the time.
yeah, at the
You know,
moment is looking good for
they
Leicester.
can lose 9-0 at
Yeah.
any time. So,
And I don't think they've signed anyone yet. I'm not really sure. I haven't checked that.
and Chelsea are in terrible form, right?
Yes,
Man
Chelsea are
United
in-
concede goals against anyone on their day, right? Like,
hopefully that day has gone.
hopefully not, but
Yeah.
you know.
And
So-
Brighton have lost a couple of defenders already.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
another
it's not too bad, the fixture.
possession-based team
Yeah.
that's kind of susceptible to the
Yeah.
counter.
Yeah.
So I honestly think, I'm not saying his fixtures are good,
No.
but I don't think they're as bad as they look. Like,
No, they're not. But at the same time, I still probably wouldn't have him in right away for me at least, because
Yeah.
I think there are. I would put Haaland, Martial, and Jesus on top of and Harry Kane above Vardy at the moment because of the fixtures. Just because
you can do a lot with 2 million though.
you could do a lot. Yes, like we saw
Yeah.
without having Salah in that in our panel team draft, and we could do so
Exactly.
much. Yes,
Yeah.
we could do a lot without 2 million. But I don't know. Right now, I feel like Kane and Haaland are on really
Yeah.
great form. That it's like, oh well, Haaland's not in really great form. Haaland is just his ego is just
Haaland is
insanely
just
high.
Haaland.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
Yeah.
Vardy is a pretty good option. And I think when we are looking at that first wild card, that's probably when I feel like he could be
Yep.
a
Because Leicester have
huge
that
target.
big
Yeah.
fixture swing, you know.
If you're looking to make points against the crowd, he could be the pick because he might be very low owned at the start. Like the Burger Man mentions. Vardy feels like he
Yeah.
could be a sleeper option indeed.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
what I think as well. But yeah.
All right. Mid-price forwards. Not many over here, I would say. I mean, there's a huge list over here, but in terms of people who are
Yeah.
attracting attention, I
Maybe
guess.
maybe we just call out the few. 'Cause
Yeah,
I don't think
exactly.
there's many at all.
Yeah.
Do you wanna pick a couple?
So Jesus, no
Yep.
longer at City. This
Oh.
should be Arsenal. My bad.
Yep.
I would say Jesus, Martial, if Ronaldo
So-
doesn't play the first couple
so-
game weeks.
So Jesus,
Yeah.
most owned player in the game.
Yes.
Yeah. Are we
Uh,
any arguments against for?
I would say I've watched a couple Arsenal games. He looks really good.
Yep.
And I'm assuming Arteta knows what to do with him, given that he's been with Jesus before at City. But like we mentioned, I think it was the last pod we mentioned that Jesus, in terms of finishing, not the best finisher. But
Yeah.
again, we don't know. Maybe different system, different play style would be a better pick. You never know.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the stats,
Yeah.
he is definitely an overrated pick, right?
Yeah.
If you
in terms
look
of
if you
finishing,
just
yeah,
look
yeah, I would
if you
say.
just look at the stats,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you think, okay, he got this many number of chances at City.
Yeah.
He's gonna get this many, and then he's gonna finish this many,
Yes.
right? But then you watch the preseason games, and,
And then
he's like,
he's like a completely different player. Yes.
yeah, 100%. He's
Yeah.
like key to. So like stats without context mean nothing, I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly. And also, to like talking about context,
Yeah.
I would say at City he played in the wing position mainly, not that central place.
That was only last season.
Yeah. So
That was only last season. Before that, he was definitely still
a number
playing up
9.
front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not a great number 9 for City for some reason.
He missed a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
He literally performed at 70% of his XG for over a large sample, which is what we showed on the last
Yeah.
pod. Like that's a statistically bad finisher.
Yes. And I'll be honest, I'm not too convinced about Jesus, which is why I'm thinking, I mean, I could still, like, I'm thinking right now, if Martial scores another goal, maybe if he scores a goal against Atletico Madrid, I would knee jerk and take Jesus off my team, bring Martial in,
yeah.
and then I can give Jesus maybe 2 game weeks because they got
See,
Crystal Palace
the
and Leicester.
problem with Ronaldo staying is that now I probably have to get Jesus.
Yes,
'cause,
that's the one issue. But then
if Ronaldo didn't stay, then I
Yeah.
was okay going Martial over Jesus.
True. That's true.
And now Ronaldo stays, I might get
But
Martial.
do you think Ronaldo is going to start game week 2?
No, he's not.
Yeah.
But then it's just gonna be a fire that I have to put out, within
Oh,
like
okay.
the
But
first
here,
3 to 4. Like
for me, I think I'm willing to play with that fire in terms of I'm willing to give Jesus 2 game weeks to see whether
Yeah.
he's going to do anything. And I want Martial for the first 2 game weeks because City United's game weeks are good. Game week 3 they play Liverpool. Bye Martial.
Yep.
And in comes Jesus. That's a possibility that I could probably play around with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is the problem with the early season. We have to keep in mind that prices change quite a lot. And they could fluctuate. Jesus could be 0.4 million more expensive after game week 2, or he could be
Yeah.
0.4 million more cheaper.
There's an excellent article which has been doing the rounds, and I'm sure you've seen. I think FPL Salah shared it.
I haven't seen it yet.
But he talks about the risk versus reward and how it's different in the early season versus in the late season.
Yeah.
Right. So in the early season, everyone thinks let's pick all the risky players, and then if we make a mistake, we'll just wildcard.
No, don't.
But like the stats definitely back up that's when you play the most safe, because any mistake, I mean, this is I'm relatively new to FPL, so I'm only learning this, relatively recently, but any mistake you make is punished by a big price difference.
Yeah.
Because everyone is really highly owned, right?
You play safe at the start, and then once you get more information, you can take a bit more well-informed decisions.
So putting that into context, like maybe I have to start with Jesus. I don't know. I've got drafts with him. I've got drafts without him. I don't know.
At the moment, he's in my team. The same reason why Haaland is in my team. You want to put yourself in a position. I saw a quote. I don't remember from who, whether it was from FPL Planner or whether it was from Late Riser, but it was you put yourself in a position to
take the risk later, right?
Yeah, or like you don't want to put yourself in a position where you get annihilated by EO.
Yeah,
at the start
I think I remember this. He said you put yourself in the position to take the punts or something, right?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact, but that's the gist of it. Like,
gist of it. Yeah.
You don't want to take too much risk at the start of the season, basically. Play it safe.
Yep.
It's completely fine to be template at the start of the season. And the template is a template because it's a well-informed template. Like, it's well-researched. A lot of managers have gone into this and looked into it and like, okay, this is why we like these players.
For the most part.
Yeah. For the most part. That's why the template ends up becoming the template.
Yep.
But yeah, it's completely fine to be safe at the start and then make well-informed decisions.
I think the lesson is don't try to be different for the sake of being different.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, exactly. Unless you want to be a Maverick manager, then completely fine. Play you. Yeah. But yeah. I liked. I had good success being a quite template last season, so I'm happy to continue.
You what, sorry?
I had good success being template last season. I'm happy to continue that.
Okay,
yeah. Anyone else? Martial, we spoke about kinda.
Who's else sticks out to me? Like Watkins, maybe at the start. Villa have like the first 3 options, but there's just so many better options this season. Like if we didn't have others, then.
No one really else.
Callum Wilson is okay.
Maybe, but I think you still have better.
Yeah, but again, at that price point.
Yeah. Tony maybe, but Brentford haven't been really pulling up to any trees.
No.
Yeah.
They lost Ericsson, right? So they
exactly.
Don't create as much.
Not
Antonio's got competition now.
Now, yes, Kamaka is there. Yeah.
I've okay. Havertz is worth talking about. Because I think he's Chelsea's clear number 9.
Yes, he is. But are we
talking
about Chelsea now or Chelsea in a couple of weeks' time?
I mean, okay, obviously, unless they sign a striker, which doesn't.
No, in terms of their form as well, because right now their form looks up and down over the hill.
There's if you can go back to the fixtures?
Yes, I can. They
Chelsea's
have really
fixtures
good fixtures.
are really
First 10
good.
game weeks. First 10 game weeks is really good. I'll tell you that. Where is Chelsea? Here you go. Everton, Spurs, Leeds, Leicester, Southampton, West Ham United.
These are really good fixtures.
Yes, and I can get you the rest as well. Let me.
Havertz is their clear number 9.
Yes,
like they don't have. I don't think there is a system in which he doesn't play up front.
So they face 2 of the top 6. In the first 12 game weeks, they'll face only 2 of the top 6. Last season's top 6. Yeah. So they have
Havertz is the only other non-high EO option in that list for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
And he's just a watch and see.
Yeah. again, I think Chelsea assets in general for me right now are a watch and see kind of situation.
100%. Yeah.
Even their defense. But yeah,
Did you see Tuchel's press conference?
yes, I did.
That was.
Which doesn't bode well too much for
I
FPL
don't know how
managers.
to. I don't know how to interpret it. It was very defeatist for.
I don't know if he's sending a message to the owner to like, hey man, we need players.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll
Interesting
see.
way to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. But Tuchel is an elite manager, and I trust in
Yep.
him to be able to get the best out of these Chelsea players. But for now, I don't think we need to rush into it. We can kind of wait and see.
He does have a bit of a reputation for,
Yeah, that's
you
Chelsea
know,
in general.
blowing up with the
Yeah.
owners after a couple of seasons.
Yeah, so we'll
at
have
his
to see
previous
what
clubs.
happens. But yeah, I
Uh,
think it's a wait and see. We don't need to
Uh-huh.
rush into it. That's
Oh,
basically it, I would say. Anyone else?
One more like I wish Leicester would play Iheanacho. Like he's an amazing player, and he just never plays. And if he plays, then he's an
Yeah,
option.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, a couple others that I should probably mention that are not in here because this was last season stats is the promoted teams like Mitrovic,
Oh yeah.
6.5 million.
Mitrovic, of course. Yeah.
Again, like I mentioned, promoted sides fixtures tend to be a bit more better, like game week 5, game week 6 onwards. I think we
Yep.
have time to wait and see, but
Yeah.
him, as well as let me go into the budget section.
Solanke.
Solanke,
Yeah.
the Forest striker Abayoni,
Yeah.
if I pronounced that correctly, he also has really good stats. And also, anyone else? No one else. Someone else was getting a move. I completely forgot. I think Southampton were looking to try and sign Southampton. Someone was looking to try and sign Broha again. I'm not really
West
sure who.
Ham.
West Ham.
West
Okay,
Ham.
they've
So
got some.
Broha's with Chelsea at the moment.
Yeah.
And then West Ham got Sumaka.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So then we'll have to see what price he comes at.
Daka is one to watch.
Yes.
So the way Daka was playing last season was like he's a bit of like a discount Vardy.
Yeah.
Right. So
Will he get more minutes?
Vardy's
Hopefully.
35.
Yeah.
Vardy's 35. Daka plays in a similar way. So maybe. So it's one to watch.
In terms of budget options, Archer on preseason has kind of come on, scored a couple goals for Aston
Really?
Villa. Yeah, he has.
Okay, I haven't tracked any of the 4.5s.
So he's not. I mean, he's not going to get you continuous minutes, but
Yep.
if he's just coming on, especially with the 5 subs and all, there's a high
Yeah.
possibility this guy could come on for a few minutes and maybe get a goal, and I'll take that.
Yeah,
if he
I'd
does.
rather the 6 points, the 5 points.
than like the continuous like 2 point, 1 point. I would
Yeah.
take an occasional like 6-pointer, which
Mhm.
would mean that I get a couple price rises as well. So,
Oh yeah, true. Yeah,
I mean, Archer is a pretty good option. Apart from that, no one else. I'm
That's
not really interested in any other options. Greenwood could get
Yep.
a couple minutes, but again, he's like a constant 2-pointer. I prefer Archer at the moment.
yeah.
But yeah.
Let's move on. There's
Alright,
not really
let's
anyone
go
else in
into
this.
the FPL Fraser. I mean, we can see Kane right on top. I would assume Haaland is also going to be similar position like him. But apart from
Yep.
that, strikers are last season. The strikers were horrible. Let's just put that into context. Everyone was pretty bad last season in terms of strikers. But yeah, Kane right good. Ronaldo is pretty good for stats wise. But we'll have to see. I still think Ronaldo's a bit of an issue because we'll have to see how he does. But I know Ten Hag is capable of playing with him because of the fact that Ten Hag had Haller at Ajax, and he
Thing
deployed.
is, Haller presses like a madman. Even though he's a target man,
Yeah,
he works hard. And Ronaldo doesn't. So if you're
That's
gonna
the-
play Ronaldo, you have to have this system that gives you that luxury of
yeah. I'm hoping
having
he does
this.
because if Ten Hag wants him and he's capable of getting something from him, I mean, end of the day, this is the best player, one of the 2 best players in the world.
Yeah.
At 10.5 million. But yeah, we'll see.
I fully expect he'll become an option at some point during the season.
Yeah.
That's all I can. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
And look, Havertz is up there.
Yes.
Jesus
is up there.
Why is Jesus so high? Oh, okay. I think his
No,
XA is
he's like
he had a lot of assists last season, right?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
He also
Yeah,
had
this is
that
N-
week where he
yep.
had like 4 goals or some thing.
Yeah. And he got quite a few assists playing on the wing.
Yep. Ashik mentions, I noticed Darwin Nunes wasn't on the list. That is mainly because it's very hard to get stats from the non-top 5
Portuguese league.
leagues.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to get stats on the Portuguese league because most sites don't track those stats. So we'll only notice like the stats when he plays this season. So, but he's a good finisher, bad passer. But we mentioned before,
No,
not good finisher, maybe overachiever.
yeah.
We don't know. We'll have to see.
We have no idea.
Yeah, we have no
Honestly.
idea. We'll have to wait and see because
He do he doesn't seem like your typical Liverpool player because
no,
he's not an amazing. He's not that great on the ball
no, he's not.
or anything.
Yeah.
I read someone made the comparison that he's a bit like a Cavani.
Oh,
Um, I don't know.
I don't
Not
know.
sure
We'll
how
see.
accurate
We'll
that
see
is,
how it goes.
but
But yeah, you want to get to the next slide? I think that's where the meaty part comes in.
well, I just want to point out that my boy Havertz is right up the top.
There you
He's
go.
right at the top.
Yeah,
So yeah, could be an option at some point. He's
could
definitely
be.
one to
Yes,
watch.
yes.
If they don't sign a striker, nobody
I
else is
don't
going
think
to
they
play
signed
there.
a striker.
No, well,
Yeah.
nobody else is going to play there.
Yeah, yeah.
Like so.
It's
That's,
most likely going to be him. So
Mm.
yeah. Havertz, Jesus. This is why Jesus is in a lot of teams. I guess it makes sense. We'll see what Arteta does. Kane.
Yeah.
Kane is my issue. I think Kane could go big, and Son could do nothing. But
we've got a whole slide on Kane,
yeah,
so we're
so
not gonna.
we'll go on to
We'll
that.
save it.
All
Yeah.
right, let's move on. Let's actually talking about the whole slide. Let's go.
All right. So this is a big argument, right? This is like everyone's falling on either side of this, and it's a very interesting argument because last season they were the same price, or Son was 0.5 cheaper,
Yes,
right? And now Son is 0.5 more expensive,
yes.
and this is so big man Bakar.
Yeah.
Bakar
FPL,
tweeted that he seems to clearly prefer Kane.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think it's a lot closer than that.
Yes.
I'm not saying that Son is clearly ahead,
Yeah.
but I think it's genuinely really close. So if you look at the XG and XA stats in the middle, Son is Kane is Son is better on assists and Kane is better on XG, right? So, but if you calculate for the CS and the bonus points that they get, that's what the little table on the right is.
Yeah.
So
That's where
you know,
Son is a bit more ahead. Yes.
so Son slightly like beats Kane. Like
Yeah.
there's
It's
not much
too
in
much.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not much in it.
Yeah.
And he's 0.5 more expensive.
Yeah.
So I think okay, all this shows to me is that it's going to come down completely to minutes.
Yep.
Right? And it's almost a lock that Kane will get more minutes.
I would yes, I would agree with that. I think Kane will end up getting more minutes because I think Son will get substituted more with, especially with the 5-sub rule now. It's very interesting for me to see that Son here has more assists per 90 compared to Kane. Because whenever I watch Spurs, I feel like Kane is the guy who's like playing now that like that number 10. He's not even a striker anymore. He's playing like a number 10 deep line forward type. Like I don't watch all of Spurs like full 90 minutes, but whenever I watch the highlights, for me, it's Kane gets the ball, passes it forward, and then you have the likes of Son and Kuleveski up front. That's kind of what I look
I
at.
would agree and disagree. I
Yeah.
think the season before, Kane was definitely a deep lying
Forward,
whatever you call it, deep lying forward playmaker. And then once Conte came, I think you started seeing Kane right up at the front of things. Like he's got a natural tendency to drop deep,
Yes.
just because he's so good on the ball.
Yeah.
And he's got such a great pass on him. But I think now Kane is starting to play a little bit more forward, So I think the fact that Son gets more points is an FPL thing.
Yes.
Right. It's just the fact that he gets the CS point and then the
extra point for the goal. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also the way BPS works.
BPS tends to favor the striker though quite more. If I'm not mistaken.
Son slightly attracts more BPS.
Yeah, that's because of the volume of goals he scored last season. That I would say.
Right.
But in general, BPS tends to favor. I think a striker gets more underlying BPS points for scoring a goal compared to a midfielder. So Son has to technically do a bit more to be able to get that 3 bonus points compared to Kane who has to do less.
That's correct, because clinical strikers are rewarded a lot more than clinical midfielders, right? Yeah.
So,
but then the CS helps Son's
exactly.
BPS,
That's the thing. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And the extra point for the goal is a massive difference as well.
Yeah.
So, That's where I think
It
it's a
it
close one.
adds up,
Yeah.
yeah. But by no means is this a clear decision.
No,
Like
it's not. It's
there
not.
are a lot of people on FPL Twitter think Kane is ahead, and you
It's
know,
a very it's a flip of a coin.
so I've just put a little note here. We don't like I maybe on a later pod we can get some more detailed stats from Fantasy Football Scout
Mm.
and come to some sort of conclusion. But I suspect that there are Kane games and Son
Yeah,
games.
that probably yeah.
When it comes to FPL,
Yeah.
and if you can find a pattern there, then Son is.
Yeah, exactly.
I think yeah.
Again, it also comes down to team flexibility and team structure.
Oh yeah, I didn't even speak about that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
because the
okay.
0.5
If you
million could make a difference.
if you want to own Kane
Yeah.
with the option of having Haaland later, like
That
that
is a
makes
possibility.
that's a huge thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one thing. And the other thing I would say, but now I don't own Kane, but I own Son. And
Mhm.
the reason I currently have that is because if Son doesn't perform,
Mhm.
like we mentioned earlier, that plethora of 8 million options
Yeah.
becomes a possibility for me.
But now you need two transfers, right? To reinvest your extra 3.5 million.
Yeah, like I mean I can downgrade my because the only way I'm making a 3 million is because I'm sacrificing in defense
Yeah.
mainly.
Yeah.
So I can downgrade Son to a 8 million player,
Yeah.
and then I can just upgrade my defense if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Or I could upgrade another midfielder because I have a couple 6 million midfielders. So I could upgrade to 2 8 million midfielders if I needed to. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's a very close call, like you mentioned. There isn't too much differing both of
It
them.
is very close. I do think at the start of the season,
Yeah.
it probably favors Kane,
Yes, fair
not
enough.
by a lot,
Mm.
just because of the optionality to go to Haaland.
Yeah.
But I think later in the season, it's gonna favor Son for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, I won't be surprised if we have both of them in our teams
Yeah.
at a point.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could very well be a situation.
Every season, I don't think that's viable, and it ends up being viable. So
Yeah, exactly. So we could put it like there's nothing stopping people from starting with both of them in your teams and then switching one of them to either Haaland or even a KDB, depending on which City player.
that could be a really interesting differential.
Yeah.
Not that you maybe need to look for differentials right at the start,
Yeah.
but it could just be a very high expected value play. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's anything else to add on this, or
I mean, we briefly mentioned the threat of Richarlison. If he's
yeah,
going to take minutes off anyone, it's probably more Son than
yes, I would say
Kane, but it's probably Kulusevski more than both of them.
yes.
Um,
Kane is probably 90-minute man right there.
well, doesn't Kane just play 90 minutes? Even if he's like a little bit injured or whatever,
Yeah,
he
exactly.
always
So I
plays.
think Kane will always play, most likely.
Well, I think part of the reason they got Richarlison is so they maybe don't have to do that, right?
Hopefully, we'll see. We don't know.
So you get the best version of Kane for
Yeah.
the whole season. So
It's a wait and see for me, I would say.
wait and see. Yep.
Yeah.
Alright,
Cool.
good
Moving on. Was this Kane versus Haaland? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a natural segue into Kane versus Haaland, right? They're the same price. Yeah, as you can see, Haaland over this is 3 seasons of Bundesliga. Okay, uh let's look at the comparison on the right. Yeah, so this is 3 seasons of data, but
Mhm.
Haaland is always manages to get injured for about 30% of the season,
Yes.
right? So the sample size isn't huge. So over 5,000 minutes, he's a huge overperformer of his XG. Right, so he gets 83 xG per 90, and then he scores more than a goal a game. This is like generational stats. Now, how do you factor this from? Okay, so Bundesliga to Premier League, right?
Yeah.
Tougher league,
Yeah.
but City is a better
Better
team,
team. Yep. Exactly.
right?
That's
Probably going to create more chances for him.
Yeah.
So are you going to assume that he gets less xG, more xG, or around the same xG?
I
Like
still think he will get over the season. I think he'll get less XG compared to the Bundesliga.
okay, just because it's the opposition's tougher.
Opposition is tougher. Injuries might come into play.
Yeah.
He also could get rested more compared to Dortmund.
Okay. Okay. So you're talking. Okay. I'm thinking per 90, but you're talking about the
no, I'm
overall
talking
season.
over the season.
Yeah,
Per
yeah, yeah.
90 though,
Yeah.
where he scored 2 goals, maybe a hat trick at times at Dortmund. That
Yeah.
could be more often at City.
The thing is, right? like we don't have to own a player for the whole season.
No, we don't. We just need those blocks. Any
Yeah,
if City
exactly.
play the weaker teams, they
Yeah.
destroy the weaker teams, and those are blocks you want to own Haaland. Now, game week
Yeah.
2 against Bournemouth, newly promoted team. I do not want to go into that game without Haaland.
I mean, he looked amazing against Munich.
Yeah, exactly.
I watched a half of that game and then I watched the highlights later, and he genuinely was like a massive threat.
Yeah. So
Who was that? Who's that centre back? Not Upamecano. Upamecano.
Upamecano, yeah,
He just absolutely bullied him out of the game.
exactly. So imagine him doing that to like most of the Premier League centre backs.
Yeah,
Um,
it's pretty scary.
yeah, Haaland. It's like if Mbappe came to the Premier League, you're gonna be owning Mbappe. Probably
This
the same
is
thing.
this is the same thing, or maybe
Yeah.
just a little bit less. You know, like it's,
Maybe, or even maybe just a bit more because he has the physicality to adapt to the Premier League as well.
that's true, but
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
I don't know.
so-
I wouldn't mess with it. Like he's going to the best team in the league. There's a reason his EO is so high.
He's a poacher who can, you know, who's also a decent, like even his XA is pretty decent, you know,
Yeah.
like he's kind of involved in the build up as well.
Yeah.
He's just yeah.
The one thing
incredible.
is, I think Community Shield. That again, I come back to the Community Shield. If he doesn't start in the
Yep.
Community Shield, I'll be a bit worried. Then I might look into moving to a Kane. I think if Haaland doesn't start in the Community Shield, you'll see that EO get closer and closer between Kane and Haaland.
Who else will play striker? So my understanding is that Foden can play false nine sometimes.
Yes, they have Julian Alvarez as well. No.
Yep. Alvarez is a winger / striker,
Yep.
right? He takes minutes off the front three.
KDB false nine. They've done it
Yeah,
before.
we saw that a little bit last
Yeah,
season.
yeah. So
I
that's
think
also a possibility.
Foden is the preferred false nine.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not like they
Yeah.
have a ton of options.
No, it's not like they have a ton of options, but again, this is City who are capable of doing such things. But yeah, I get what you're
Yeah.
saying. I still think he'll start game week 1,
Mhm.
but I want him for those fixtures that City play against the weaker teams.
Ashik says Pep roulette, particularly for new players joining Pep's team. They always take a year or so.
That's
yeah,
true.
but it's Haaland.
Yeah,
So
that's
no,
the only issue.
that's absolutely correct.
Yeah,
though.
that's true. That's true.
It's normally the second season that players start to get bet
Exactly.
into his
Which
teams.
is why I said like Grealish could be a really good option
Yeah.
this season. Yeah. But it's
but
hard.
but this is like, you know, it's not, you know, it's like Messi, Ronaldo, and
Yeah.
then, you know,
And then you have the next generation of coming strike.
100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so-
Yeah, that's the thing. There are certain players who like you to, yeah, these guys can adapt. These guys will fit in. Again, I don't know. The only problem I have with Haaland is his injury situation more than anything else.
I'm happy to start with Kane because the first fixture is Southampton,
Yes.
right? And then we're gonna see, because
Yeah.
the first game, Kane versus Southampton versus Haaland, is, you know, it's
Yeah, exactly. It's not too bad. Haaland
it's
versus
not
West
it's-
Ham, I think.
yeah. So I'd rather have Kane
Yeah.
and see. you
Yeah.
know.
Fair enough.
So that is why I think back to the Kane versus Son thing.
Yeah.
That's a lot more flexible than having Son and then having to
Yes, then
sell him, buy an 8 million mid, and then upgrade like Martial to Haaland. You know.
yeah, unless you start with Haaland like me. But yeah.
Oh yeah, unless you have every shiny toy like you. So.
and have a crippling backline. But yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's just true. We'll wait and see, I think, how it goes. There are a couple more preseason friendlies this weekend. See what happens with that. But yeah, I think it's a
Yep,
very
we've got
close
about
call.
10 days, right?
Yeah, yeah,
10
we do.
days. Yeah.
We'll see what happens. What do we have next? Oh yeah, preseason mids and forwards.
Yeah, this is just a
Ronaldo,
general thing for whatever
Yeah.
big teams we might have missed. But let's talk about the Ronaldo thing in a little bit more detail. We've
Okay.
mentioned it a few times.
Yep.
So Ronaldo is staying going. I've been following Twitter all day, and
Yeah.
it looks like it looks to me like he's finally staying.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's no
one willing to take him.
there's no Champions League
Yeah.
clubs that'll take him.
Yeah.
Right?
So strange, but yeah.
So FPL wise, I think this sadly makes Martial a much worse option. Whereas at one point he looked like an amazing option. It makes Rashford a worse option because
Yes.
now I don't think Rashford was an amazing option in the first place, because
No.
even though he scored in preseason, he didn't look very good.
Martial
And,
still is better. I think there's a
Martial
possibility.
Martial
Yeah,
looks great.
there's a
This is the best
possibility.
I've seen Martial in a long time.
Martial goes to the left wing and Ronaldo goes striker. That's a higher possibility than Martial actually getting dropped.
So yeah, exactly. You've nailed it. I think yeah, if Ronaldo goes up front, Martial starts to threaten Rashford.
Yeah.
But I think this makes Sancho better.
Yes.
I think Sancho was already a pretty good option.
Now he's just a more
These
nailed option.
yeah, he looks electric in
Yeah.
preseason.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah. Only had a million more.
Yeah. So I mean, now he's got Ronaldo to feed.
Yeah. I think
Sancho's a pretty natural assister, right? Like the
Mm.
way he plays is drag someone with him and then puts balls in behind. So
out
Ronaldo,
of those three players, Sancho is probably the player to get, who is more
I believe so.
underlying
Yeah.
stats are good, picture proof, or at least like not prone to rotation. Even if let's say United get like they're linked with Anthony, even if Anthony
Yeah.
comes in, Sancho can go to the left.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think Sancho is
Sancho
the
can play
more,
both sides.
yeah, exactly, the more
I think
preferred.
Ten Hag likes playing with a wide playmaker. Like
Yes.
at Ajax, he had Tadic.
Yeah.
Tadic as a false nine for a bit, then Tadic on the right. So he's used to working with that type of
Yeah.
player. As well.
So I think Sancho is a really good option out of those
Yeah.
three cheaper options.
Yeah, we mentioned Arsenal in quite a bit of
Yeah.
detail. Not yet.
Chelsea, you mentioned number 9, Havertz potentially.
Yeah.
And Liverpool.
Mason Mount is it's worth consideration just because he plays so much minutes.
Yes.
Is he on pens?
No,
Yeah,
Jorginho is the one on pens.
Oh,
isn't it?
Jorginho's on pens.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Jorginho doesn't always play.
No, not always. So
Yeah,
then
okay.
it goes to probably Mount, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Luis Diaz we've already touched. Newcastle you've added Almiron because he's good, but
I knee jerked him into this slide
Yeah.
because
he's
they
not a
scored this
consideration.
morning.
Don't worry.
He's not in consideration.
Yeah, we just added him for the fun of it, but he's not consideration. Don't even think. But yeah.
Oh, Bailey. Let's talk about.
Yes, Leon Bay. We didn't speak about it.
I mean, he's in my draft, so you'll
He
see
is in
then,
my draft
but
as well.
I think he's an excellent enabler, and also I assume me and Ryan both watched the Man United game.
Yes, yeah.
where
Goal and
Bailey-
assist from Leon Bailey.
where Bailey came on and changed the game.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, Gerard had comments saying how he, if he plays like, I think the quote was, if he plays like this, he will start.
Yeah, he was like, if I
Right.
had to pick a team tomorrow,
Oh yeah, that's right.
he will be in my team.
Yeah.
5
5 million. That's
yeah.
crazy.
5 million, great enabler, and really good first 3 fixtures.
Yep.
I like the look of it. It's a bit more risky, I would say, but I like the look of it. What do you think about like people have Neto as well? Wolves
Yeah, so
haven't
I
been
think
doing pretty
Neto
decent.
is a better option
Yeah.
over like 6 or 7 fixtures.
Yeah.
Problem with getting Bailey is that you save 0.5, but you're
Yeah.
pretty much locking in a transfer after 3
Week
game
3.
weeks.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like I really don't want to do that because there's so much change where you're working out who's the good options and stuff that
Yeah.
you're going to need every transfer you have.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't want to have to spend a transfer on a 5 mil mid after 3 game weeks.
Fair enough. I agree where you're coming. I understand where you're coming from. For me, at least
Yeah.
at the moment, that's how I'm enabling.
So that
my
is the only
team.
reason.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I would. Yeah.
I think Neto is still probably slightly better option, but
I think so.
at the
Oh,
moment,
Jimenez is injured, right? Which means
yes,
Neto plays up
which
front.
Neto makes Neto even a better option.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm kind of favoring the Leon Bay.
There's always
Left,
a bit of bias when a player destroys your team.
That's just true.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. He could be a really good option, and Neto also I think is a pretty good option.
Ashik also, I don't know if you read this. Ashik said they played a whole season with false
City,
9.
right? Yeah.
So rotation with Haaland is not a big deal. Yeah, I'd agree.
Exactly.
It's like,
Yeah, fair enough.
he's gonna get rested by Foden, Alvarez.
Yeah. And then all right, this is your current draft. Pick at the back still.
Yeah, so I've stuck with big at the back. Like,
You have any money left in this bank? Or
no, I don't. So I've stuck with big at the back primarily because we mentioned a lot of the big 6 have good fixtures at the start. And yeah, these attacking fullbacks, from the big 6. So when they already have a chance of attacking potential, and now they have like fairly guaranteed, not guaranteed, but like fairly strong clean sheet potential. I think it's a very efficient in terms of budget source of points.
Fair enough.
When the fixtures are really good. So, and I think double City defense is a bit of a differential. I've done a bit of analysis. I didn't want to go into too much detail on defense in this
Yeah.
pod, but I've done a bit of analysis on Diaz versus Cancelo, and their points per million are actually really quite similar.
Mm.
Cancelo looks amazing,
Yeah.
and is amazing. Uh, but Diaz, I think, racks up the bonus points because he passes a lot from the back, and high pass completion really favors defenders.
Yeah.
When you look at how BPS is calculated, and City always, play out from the back, and Diaz is just like an incredibly safe passer, and he has very decent XG and XA threat from corners.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is some rumors of a Diaz injuries, in which case so Diaz could become Laporte in this draft, but then there's a Laporte injury as well, so
Yeah.
it's something
Walker
to keep
5
an eye.
million, but not great in terms of BPS or anything
I
else.
think Walker is bad in terms of BPS. He may or may not be nailed. I
Yeah.
think if they don't get Cucurella, he probably will be
Yeah.
nailed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Stones is 6 or 6.5. I haven't looked at Stones.
Trippier, 2 assists.
Yeah, Trippier is an option. I'm considering Trippier. So I'm considering Trippier instead of Zinchenko. So I've gone for Arsenal double defense.
Yeah.
This
I
is-
noticed that, which
this
is a bit dangerous, I would say.
Yeah, well, but it's purely based on fixtures, right? Like
Yeah.
I want as many players as possible that I don't have to worry about changing until I wildcard.
Okay, fair enough.
So and anyone with good fixtures, even if they're not performing amazingly,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna mind holding on to them.
Yeah, fair enough.
And Liverpool fullbacks don't need to say anything.
No.
Yeah, and then I've gone for Salah and Kane as my premiums.
Yeah.
Kane obviously is a easy switch to Haaland, right? And that's why I haven't gone Grealish, although I really do like Grealish as an option.
Yeah.
So I've kept my third City spot in case I want to go Kane to Grealish.
Yeah, fair enough.
And yeah, I've gone for Sancho.
I think it's a good option. Yeah, probably the best.
Really good option. I think he's going to be nailed in Ten Hag's system, and not that he's fixture proof, but I think he's going to play a lot of minutes.
Minutes are the more assured one. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and then Jesus, which is my me being risk averse at the start of the season.
Fair enough.
And then to afford all this, I have to have Bailey.
Yes, I get what you're saying.
That's yeah.
It's not too
and
bad.
Yeah, and I've gone Ramsdale.
Would you go 4.5 or do you think Ramsdale still?
I could go 4.5, but there's not a lot of places I can invest the 0.5. I can upgrade Sancho to an 8 mil mid.
Or you can upgrade Bailey to your Neto. That's the other option.
Yeah, but I think
Not much of it.
Yeah, and I might swing around on that. But I think Arsenal's, if I get Ramsdale, I won't have to worry about changing him for until I wildcard.
Fair enough.
So yeah.
Cool. This is my team, premium. I mean, I'm not too bad. Like that defense isn't too bad for me.
No, it's not at all. Yeah.
United defense, I'm not really fond of, to be honest. I have been toying with the idea of maybe starting with Martial instead of Jesus and going Dalot to Trippier to start off with. And then in game week 3, I make those 2 transfers where Martial goes to Jesus and Trippier goes down to someone else. Because I think Newcastle's fixtures also slightly game week 3, game week 5 are a bit more tougher.
I don't mind it.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't like the idea of already planning
booking in transfers.
transfers.
Yeah, that's the one thing.
You know what I mean? Like there's just so much volatility. Like you don't know what you're gonna.
But
White is White nailed?
I don't know. He's playing right back at the moment because Tomiyasu was injured.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure. Like one of the spots I'm not really sure yet between Dalot and White. But we'll have to see.
There's a couple of other decent 4.5s. I like keep your eye on James Justin, I think.
Yeah, from Leicester.
Yeah, and Ait Nuri from Wolves.
Yes, I think that's another thing I'm wondering. I think Ait Nuri could be a good option. Johnny as well from Wolves could be a decent option. So I'm kind of open on a couple 4.5 options, but I have to see how it goes. Goalkeeper also, I'm thinking maybe I switch Meslier to Sanchez if needed. That could also be a possibility. I don't mind Meslier because of his save potential.
I really rate Meslier as well.
Yeah.
I think it's just completely dependent on what Marsh's
going to implement.
Marsh's leads.
Yeah,
like.
exactly.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I'm okay with the current team, but we'll see. I think after the Community Shield, I may or may not tinker it a bit more.
Rashford could be amazing, could become a fire you need to put out.
Yes,
So
that's
that's
another
the
problem. There are a couple.
uh,
There are potential fires in this team.
that's always the case when you
Yeah,
have premium.
exactly. So that's the kind of risk I'm willing to take because I'm looking at a lot of people's drafts and they don't have Spurs players enough, and I'm like,
Yep.
this is where I make my difference if I want to risk it a bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I cover most of the high EO players except for Cancelo, but I'm thinking Diaz can kind of like you mentioned,
Yeah.
can cover that somewhat.
I truly believe Diaz is an underrated option.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, you don't have triple Liverpool, but you can't afford triple Liverpool.
No, I
Which is
can't afford.
triple Liverpool is very meta
Yeah,
this season, Either Robertson or Nunes
yeah.
or
It's just
Diaz.
that third Liverpool spot. I'm not really sure where
It's just too
exactly.
expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and too expensive. But we'll see. Maybe after the first wild, like when I do my first wild card,
Yeah.
the team will be slightly different. Where Arsenal players would have been taken off, United players
Yeah.
would have been taken off.
Hmm.
I'll be more Liverpool, Spurs, City oriented as well. So we'll see. That's the
See, I think
plan.
the high level argument of like
Yeah.
3 premium midfielders
Yeah.
is that when you have a premium player, as in greater than 10 mil, you're supposedly paying a premium
Yeah.
for the captaincy, right?
Yeah. You
And if you
kind
can't
of,
captain more than one,
yeah.
you're overpaying.
You could say that, but
Over.
at the same
I
time,
mean, no, that is one theory,
yeah.
right? Like I'm not. So that is like the biggest.
Yeah, I understand. Like if you're getting a premium player, if you're not captaining them, then you're kind of like not not worth it, I guess. But for me, I'm like,
But it's Haaland.
yeah, it's Haaland, it's Son, it's Kane. They're all like
Yeah,
proven players. But yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically it. Does if anyone wants to send in their teams for us to kind of like rate in the next 5 minutes, please do chuck it over. While that's happening in the comments, do we want to make any changes to this team? Let me bring it up here.
Oh, is this
The
our
panel
team?
team. The panel team. Are we thinking of any changes to this panel team based off?
I'm just okay. I think this is before the Chelsea drubbing. We had 2 Chelsea players.
Yeah. And
Oh,
Dexter also, if you're here, send in your team. Okay, Dexter's team. He's got Sanchez, Dean Henderson, TAA, Perisic, James, Zinchenko, Cancelo. Then he's got Salah, Liambay, Foden, Neto, Andreas Pereira, Jesus
Mhm.
Kane, and Sam Greenwood.
So this is a 4-4-2?
Kane, yeah, it looks like a 4-4-2 and
5. No.
30.
Oh yeah.
It's a 5. It's a back 5.
Okay.
The back 5 with is it a 5-1-2-3, possibly 5-4?
It's a 5-3-2, and he's
Yeah.
benching Bailey.
Yeah, looks like
I
it.
think. So, okay.
Kane to Haaland, he's gonna do
5-3-2.
later. As his
Yeah.
minutes worry me.
Yeah.
With Pep comments 5-3-2. Yeah, that's it. 5-3-2.
So I mean, I'm in agreement with Dexter about, and which is why I've started with Kane and given
Yeah.
myself the option to go Haaland.
For me, Perisic
mhm.
is at the moment a slight doubt in terms
Yep.
of minutes. Reece James as well. Reece James for me, out of that, Perisic and Reece James are the kind of players I'm like I can kind of wait. Because of I want Chelsea to be a bit more settled in defense. Right now they're not. And Perisic right now minutes are slightly an issue. He hasn't played too many minutes in preseason. That's my only 2 issues with that team. Foden also I think it's a wait and see.
I agree about Perisic. I think Perisic is, yeah, you want to see him getting more minutes
Yeah.
before putting him in your team.
Yeah.
James, I think is fine.
Okay.
I think he just has a lot of assist threat.
Mm.
Chelsea will eventually get their shit together. They have such a good run of fixtures.
Yeah.
But I just think they'll get their shit together. Let's start with Everton. It's like
I
the
know. It
worst
couldn't
team in
get
the
any
league.
easier. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Foden,
do you think, yeah, maybe there's too much money on the bench? That's the other thing I
he's got
was.
Andres Pereira, Sam Greenwood, and it's Leon
And
Bay. That's the thing.
and is Henderson's
Oh
4.5,
yeah, and Dean
right?
Henderson 4.5.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
you don't need 2 keepers, especially if you're trying to wildcard early. Like a lot of people will be looking to.
you could squeeze $1 million out of that bench.
Yeah, you could probably.
And put it somewhere, you know.
Yeah. So you probably don't like. I'm going with 1 keeper and forget the second keeper. I'm happy to do that for the first 6 game weeks or so.
Like Perisic can become a Diaz, you know.
Yeah,
Alright.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Perisic could become a DS, exactly. Like a 0.5 just from a keeper switch.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. Or you could also do Leon Bailly to, or not even Leon. You
Martinelli.
could do Neto to Martinelli or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Martinelli's only 6, so
Yeah, and
Bailey to Martinelli works as
yeah,
well.
that also works. So
Yeah.
could be a couple options.
Mhm.
But yeah, apart from that, I like the rest of the team.
Yeah, I think it's a good team. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else? Also, while anyone else is chucking in their teams, thoughts on
Let's have a
this
look at our
panel team?
team.
Are we thinking of changing? Obviously, we don't have Salah.
Let's get him. Let's get him Mahrez. I'd
Yeah.
rather have Foden
Okay. You want to have Foden
or
or
Grealish.
Grealish? I
Foden or
think
Grealish.
Grealish at
Yeah.
the moment because I'm not sure on
Yeah, we're
Foden's
both on the
minutes.
Grealish train, so let's go
Yeah.
Grealish
Um,
and do something with that million.
and also, by the way, for everyone watching, Salah is not here intentionally because we want to keep it slightly different.
This is our, risk-taking team.
Risk-taking team, exactly. We have an extra
Okay.
million. We
Okay,
could remove Perisic like we mentioned as well.
Yeah,
we're
that's
not
too
really sure.
much. Too much risk.
Canceller? No, we can't afford Canceller.
We could try a premium keeper, just because it's not
Anderson?
something neither of us have in our teams. I'd rather Allison.
Oh, you'd rather Alisson, third Liverpool side.
Yeah, I think
Ah,
Allison gets more chances to make saves
okay,
and
Alisson.
gets more what are they called? Recoveries off off the line, which is huge for BPS for goalkeepers.
Okay. Let's have Alisson in there.
Uh, 6 mil.
I would want to get Chilwell out because Chilwell hasn't played too many minutes. I'll probably play Reece James instead.
Yep.
Um,
We have 6 mil to spend on a.
City defender.
Yeah, it's a bit boring, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing.
We can upgrade Andreas Pereira.
To who?
Okay, why don't we get one of the why don't we get like Madison or something? One of the riskier 8 mil mids. That
Okay, well, in terms of, shall I put Gabriel here for? Oh, actually, let me
Okay.
put Zinchenko for now.
yeah.
It's a 5 million just a slot. Doesn't mean that we're getting him. And then you wanted to upgrade.
Oh
Haaland.
no. It's okay. Now we're not gonna be able to. But
Okay.
I
could
was
do-
gonna say why don't we play an extra midfielder instead of Zinchenko? But
Okay. I get what you mean.
I actually have Zinchenko in my draft. I didn't talk about it much because I saw some stats by I think it was FPL Gromit.
Yeah.
I don't, who did some bonus point analysis, and Zinchenko always comes out really high.
Okay. So he could be a decent option.
Yeah, and then he could play box to box midfield.
Yeah.
Probably not at the start of the season, but
Anyone else we could probably, or we'll think about it next week maybe,
get rid of Martial, I think. Oh,
and get Jesus. But then that's very template.
who else is 8 mil?
At the moment,
Is
not many options staring. Could upgrade Sterling or downgrade Sterling some way.
There's no one that's 11 mid.
No. We could go
Can we get a Nunez?
9 million.
We go Nunez and change Diaz to someone more interesting.
Yes, to a 7 million. Who?
Bonds.
Ooh. It's Bonds.
Yeah, we saw how his stats were so high, right?
Yeah, or you could even do Madison.
Madison's 8.
Yeah, and then downgrade Zinchenko or someone. Actually, Barnes. Let's keep Barnes for now, maybe.
Yeah, because there's not many playing 4 mils. I mean, we saw Barnes is really high on the expected goal involvement threat.
Although I need to check his minutes, but yeah, we'll have to see whether
Well, his minutes were low, but
no, yeah, in
you
preseason,
mentioned
if he's playing or
in
not.
preseason.
Yeah.
I see. Right.
Okay, we'll keep it like this for now, and then maybe
Yeah.
next week we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Anyone else adding teams? No, doesn't seem like it. Okay, cool. We'll end it here.
Cool.
Thank you all for watching. And also make sure to hit the subscribe button if you are new. And hit the like button as well. Thank you to Karan for the stats that you bought and for everything else as well. We'll see you guys next week, where we probably might have quite a lot more of the panel team as well, because a lot of people will be like, oh no, I need to fix my team. So
Yeah.
we'll see a lot more people. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. Lots more content coming next week, because it'll be the week before the season starts. So I'll have an expected points video, a captaincy video, maybe a team reveal video with one of the viewers on from the channel. So yeah, lots coming ahead. And also we're going to do predictions video, season predictions video as well, as part of the Chatbox podcast. Yeah, lots of content coming up. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys all
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
next week.
See you
all.
later.
I'm walking alone.